20. Hello, everyone. Zunker here with Lunchroom Syndicate. Reacting to the Jacksonville Jaguars' historic 20th straight loss. Technically, the third 20th 20-game losing streak in NFL history. One of those was the Chicago Cardinals back in the World War II era, which they had probably dealt with other things at the time. And then obviously they lost 29 in a row, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 76-77 season, they're infamous losing their first 26 games of the franchise. The only two teams who have lost more games in a row than the Jacksonville Jaguars. 20. In the age of parity, in the age of where every team has a chance, any given Sunday, you see teams like the Jets win 2 in a row, beat the Rams last year. Remember how bad the Jets were last year? They beat the Rams in LA. Then they beat Cleveland. A weird game that with COVID, where Cleveland basically was down their entire receiving core. Detroit Lions have won 5 games since the Jaguars won their last in Week 1 of 2020. You know, when Jack sent the tweet out, was it Jags or somebody went to say it? We're not satisfied yet. Oops. Well, oops. 20 in a row. Just to cap it off, today was against the Tennessee Titans. Jags, one of Jags' biggest rivals. At this point, I don't even know if you could say Jags have a rival, because every team beats them up. You gotta be competitive in your games, and the Jaguars just aren't. 13 of the 20 games they have lost by double digits, which is terrible. Which means 7 were close. I mean, they've gotten close, but only once this year. Was today the day? Today, maybe the Jaguars would come together as a team after all the bullshit from last week with Urban Meyer and everything else. 1 minute into the game, Dan Arnold, the key pickup for C.J. Henderson, because first-round picks are great for Jacksonville, fumbles and gets returned for a touchdown. I'm going to admit, I didn't watch a game. I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to deal with watching a team lose. My team lose 20 in a row. The offense, 450 yards. I mean, they play well. 2 turnovers, though. This is a team that can't turn over. And apparently we had a goal-to-go situation. Let's talk about that for a minute, shall we? Let's talk about the goal-to-goal situation that I was looking up. This is the stuff that teams do that lose 20 games in a row. It's continuous. It's not just the players when this happens. This is coaching too. And I understand that Jags have a new coaching staff who may be worse than the last one. I think if Doug Marrone was head coach of Jags, would have won the game already. I do believe that. Urban Meyer's terrible. And he's proven that week in, week out. His staff is absolutely terrible. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand who to get the ball to. I don't know. Let's talk about something here, right? Early on, the game was okay for the Jags, actually. They went down half 24-13, which not great, but they were in it until late. They missed a field goal because why not? I mean, what do you say? It was a 53-yarder. They came up short. They've been playing right over Lambeau because Lambeau just has not been himself at all. Coming out of the half, they give up a touchdown. 11-play drive, 75 yards. They couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had just, a down game for him against Jacksonville. Oh, it was like 130 yards and 3 TDs. A down game, really. Hey, Jeff. I love you, buddy, but you gotta get that. But there's one. This sequence of events, when the game was, I wouldn't say the game was in doubt here. It was 31-19. They just forced a 3-and-out after going 10 plays, 80 yards. To get the game within 2 scores, which again, 31-19 is not great. They missed a 2-point conversion. Whatever. It's still a 12-point game. They went 7 plays, 66 yards. The momentum is clearly on the Jacksonville Jaguars side. They get to the Tennessee 5. 1st and 5 on the Tennessee 5. 1st and goal. You have James Robinson, who's been an absolute beast in this game. He ended up with 149 yards rushing on, I don't remember how many carries, but a ton of carries. Let's talk about the sequence of events. So do you go to James Robinson, who's been your man with a plan in this game? No, they do not. Now, granted, I think this series was going to be a Carlos Hyde series, maybe to give Robinson a little bit of a break, but you're trying to come back. You want your best players on the field. James Robinson is probably your best offensive player right now. And has been since last year. Let's talk about this 4-play sequence. 1st and goal at the 5. Incomplete pass to Laviska Shenault. You know what? Fair point. 2nd and goal. Pass incomplete. Marvin Jones. Hey, Marvin Jones. Maybe Marvin Jones is the best player on their offense, or at least the most dependable in the receiving core. Fair. 3rd and goal. Trevor Lawrence scrambles up the middle for 5 yards. Touchdown! And it gets reviewed and turned over. I haven't seen the play, so I don't know if it's a good call or bad call. I'll probably have the correct call. So it's 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. A field goal does nothing. So obviously you go for it here. It's not a whole lot of time left. You're in the 4th quarter. You need touchdowns at this point. And 4th and go. Do they go to James Robinson? Well, I already spoiled that. I said no. What do? They go with the backup Carlos Hyde, who loses 3 yards. And Brandon Linder gets injured on the play. What is that? You don't go to your best. You don't go to your best offensive player one fucking time. That's what bad teams do. That's what terrible teams do consistently. You consistently ignore your best players because you get cute and fancy. No, you know what teams don't do that crap? Good teams. They say, hey, you know who's our best player? This guy. Let's feed him. You know why the Browns and Chargers today played a 89 point freaking ball game? Because they understood who their best players were. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt on the Browns, on their offensive players, I mean. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert. They kept getting them the ball. Yes, there's other plays involved, and Mike Williams too for the Chargers. The Chargers are really good offensively. They have a lot of talent, and the Browns are really good offensively too, although their two-man offense is absolutely atrocious. But that's a different story. You don't continue to stop getting fancy. The Jaguars right now cannot afford fancy. James Robinson, who was very productive today, although you haven't gotten him much in the pass game, even though last year you showed he's a capable receiver. You go with your backup running back, Carlos Hyde. Your backup. What would have been probably third string if Etnan didn't get injured. Maybe Robinson, but you need Robinson in the game there. So this is a turning point in this game. You score here, you go and you kick the extra point, you make it 31-26. It's a 5-point game. If you miss the extra point, let's say the right sucks, and you get a 6-point game out of this. The pressure's on Tennessee not to blow a second game in a row to a terrible winless team. Tennessee would punt the next play, but Jacksonville will get absolutely nothing going on their second to last drive of the series. They would get 2 penalties on the drive, so they have 1st and 20. They get 9 of them back. They get another penalty. It's just the Tennessee would score the clinching touchdown on the very next drive. I'll give you a hint who did it. It was Derrick Henry. And then on their final drive, their fairly meaningless final drive to end the game. This was the second turnover, so there's only 1 turnover in the game effectively, although this counts as a turnover. Trevor Lawrence just tried to force one on second and goal at the very last. It was literally a last second grass to Marvin Jones was picked off in the end zone, whatever. That, do you even count that? I mean, it counts in the stats, so it is an interception to Trevor Lawrence. It is a turnover, but ultimately, it had absolutely no bearing on the game. The game itself is whatever. The Jags offense apparently played pretty good despite only scoring 19 points, 450 yards. That's a large amount in a game, in an NFL game. I mean, 256 yards passing and damn near 200 yards rushing. 6.4 yards per rush for the Jaguars in this game. And again, I gave you 1st and 5. Just for the record, I gave you 1st and 5, 1st and goal from the 5, and they called 3 pass plays. I don't know what the Trevor Lawrence one was. Maybe that was a run. So if that was a run, I apologize. But even still, the first 2 plays, passes. I can understand one of them. I don't understand 2 when you have James Robinson, who has been tearing it up. Jaguars went 3 for 5 in the red zone today, which didn't help. The penalties were good. Only 4 for 33. That was solid. They lost They lost 10 possession battle, but not like by a lot. Like you tell me a team loses by 3 minutes, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, that's not a lot, quite frankly. 3rd downs for the Jags. They were only 3 for 10. 1 for 3 on 4th downs, which is absolutely atrocious. The Jags need to score. I'm kind of looking through some of these other stats real quick. Derrick Henry had 130 yards on 29 carries. Not a great average. I mean, it's a good average. It's over 4 yards a carry. But, I mean, that's a lot of carries for 130 yards. It's still over 4 yards a carry, but, it's not like... We're not going excessive here. We're not 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. Where James Robinson had 18 for 149. That's a significant amount. Carlos Hyde in the game had 5 for 13, so I'm glad he was the 4th down call on that one. I'm sure it had nothing to do with his Ohio State affiliation with Urban Meyer. Sure. Jamal Agnew had 1 rush. Trevor Lawrence getting his rushing has been the one thing I have noticed in the last couple games when I look at the box scores and stats and highlights. Is Trevor Lawrence has been running more, and I do like that. I do think that's a good idea. Give him. Trevor wasn't bad. He took 2 sacks for 17 yards. His QBR sucked. But he was 33 for 273 in the touchdown and the late game interception, the last second. Then the other turnover was Dan Arnold's fault because Dan Arnold is a guy that we absolutely had to have for C.J. Henderson. I'm not saying C.J. Henderson's a good player. He has been terrible for the Jaguars. He was. But you don't give up. Whatever. I'm not even going to do it. James Robinson, by the way, only had 1 catch for -2 yards, so they're not really getting him in the passing game when there's not a whole lot there. Laviska Shenault had 1 catch for 58 yards. Tavon Austin was okay with 5 for 54. Dan Arnold did have a good game at 6 for 64, except that bad fumble. Jamal Agnew was 6 for 45, and you got a bunch of guys that had kind of just one catch. The Jaguars did have 3 sacks on the game. The defense did play somewhat okay in that respect. Josh Allen had a half a sack. Kalavion Jason, hey, the first rounder who showed up today, had a sack, and Dwayne Smoot had a sack and a half for 3 total sacks. They gave up 2, both to Landry on the Titans side. I don't know who that is offhand. The Jaguars. Their kicking situation is a mess right now. It's just an absolute disaster. Wright missed a field goal and an extra point today, and that's just unacceptable. You just can't do that under any circumstances. Is that acceptable? Only 2 punts on today though, so I mean it's not like the Jaguars weren't doing something. Again, they've had 450 yards, which is not a small amount, but that's not the point. All these are great things that I'm saying. 450 yards, Trevor Lawrence looked better, James Robinson had a shit ton of yards rushing, and yada, 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 yay, yay, yay. But it's a loss, and they still lost by 18 points. They still lost by 18 points. I grant there was a late touchdown, but it's still double digits. I don't know what to think. Like, this team, you lose 20 in a row. Like, This hasn't been done in 44 years in 1977 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended their streak at 26. 40 years. It's only happened 3 times in NFL history. 20. There's been a few with 19, including the Detroit Lions, but they've lost more than the 0-16 Lions in a row. The 0-16 Browns. You know that Browns team that went 1-31, or that Lions team in 08-09 that went 2-30 in 2 seasons? They got wins. They got a win. Well, in Browns' case, a win. You accidentally win. That Browns team that went 1-31 was designed to suck. That's what the plan was. They were one of the worst rosters you ever seen. You see the fruits of that labor now. They're a pretty good team, although they have their issues. That's what they're designed for. That was the purpose of them. Of that, they get the 2 first-round pick to get their starting QB and starting defensive end. They're stars at both positions. Depending on how you feel about Baker, and there is a lot of conversation there. And we're not talking about the Browns. I'm from Ohio, again, so I'm used to that talk. Four years ago, brought this up before in different videos. 4 years ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars went 10-6. Right. Went 10-6. Made the AFC Championship game. Had a 10-point lead on Tom Brady and the Patriots in the 4th quarter. Potentially came a missed down by contact call on a fumble away from going up 17 points against the New England Patriots in New England in the AFC Championship game. They were this close to a Super Bowl appearance. This close. Now, I don't think I have to explain what happened since. If you're a Jags fan and you're watching this, you know what happened next. And most people do. The implosion has been incredible. In all the wrong ways. But it has been incredible. It's almost like something you've never seen before. In 4 years, the Jaguars went from almost Super Bowl to worst team ever. You have to suck at your job so badly. The ownership is terrible. I'm going to say it now. They clearly do not know how to run an NFL program. Matter of fact, you can make a case that the Khan family does not have a clue how to run a sports organization if you look up what happens to Fulham since they bought the Premier League soccer football team over in Europe. They have been absolutely terrible. And that's not me. I want the Jaguars. I want the Khan family to succeed with the Jaguars. They seem like they want to win, but just there's a disconnect somewhere. Like you are not 20 losses in a row bad without something happening from the top. You can change coaches. You can fire GMs, hire GMs. You can get Urban Meyer because he's going to be great, and what a disaster this has been. The Jaguars are 6 games away from tying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 7th game, it's a little bit poetic. It's going to be against the LA Rams for the 27th straight loss. And Jalen Ramsey, who plays on that team. You remember, about their only good first-round pick in the last 15 years. Oh, you don't believe me? I might be slightly exaggerating, but let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars first-round pick, shall we? Here's another reason why your team loses 20 in a row and is an absolute embarrassment of a team. since 2011. I can go back to 2010 with the Tyson Alu one, although he has played well, although he hasn't really been worth the number 10 overall pick. 2011, the Jaguars select with the 10th overall pick. I believe they traded up for it. All right, maybe not. Number 10, quarterback out of Missouri, Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert was one of the worst starting QBs I've ever watched. Don't worry. I watch Browns games for a lot of my life. And he fit right in with the just assembly line of terrible Browns QBs. He's a backup right now with Tampa Bay Buccaneers record. He won a Super Bowl ring last year, but there's no way in hell the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want him to start a game. Because if that means he starts getting any time Brady's injured, that means they don't have much of a chance. Although Tampa has a really good roster, Blaine Gabbert's not a quarterback that you want on your team for starting purposes. Number 2012, the Jaguars select Justin Blackman, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State, at number 5. This pick looked like it could be a really good pick. Let's talk about Justin Blackman for a second here. Justin Blackman, who at Oklahoma State was an absolute monster. In 2010, had 111 receptions in 12 games for 1,782 yards and 20 TDs. That's absolutely incredible. In 2011, damn near matching that production across the board, had 122 receptions for a little bit lower on yards, 1,522 yards and 18 touchdowns. Absolute monster in college. I didn't hate this pick. I remember, I was like, oh, I like this pick. I actually like Justin Blackman in college. There's a few things I saw, I'm like, I kind of like this guy. As a matter of fact, he would prove me somewhat true. In 2012, he had an absolutely great start to his career. He started 14 games, played in all 16, 64 receptions, 865 yards, 5 TDs. A very, very good start to a rookie campaign. And he had Blake Gabbert throwing the ball. Let's keep that in mind. That's a good start. We're not talking exceptional numbers, but really back in 2012, we're kind of immune now to receivers being great coming out of college, but that wasn't really the case until very recently. 2013, his first 4 games, 29 reception, 415 yards, 100 yards a game average. 100 yards a game average. He would be on pace for 1,600 plus yards. Probably closer to 1,700. 14.3 per catch. 14.3 per catch in final year. And then the suspensions happen. He has never played another NFL game since. He had alcohol problems, and so that happens. Addiction is something that, I'm not gonna make fun of. I'm not gonna give too much shit for it. It happens, and you hope he's doing well now. I don't know. I haven't followed him for years, so we can't. But the reality for the Jaguars is it was another wasted pick. Just another one along the line. Now, this isn't the best draft, admittedly. Ryan Tannehill was the 8th pick, believe it or not, for Miami. He wasn't good until... But we could have Luke Kuechly. At 9 was Carolina's pick. That would have been a great pick. The Jaguars, by the way, moved up from 7 to get Justin Blackman. And let me check the Blaine Gabbert one. That might have been the same. That might have been... No, we moved up to grab him too. That's 2 straight years the Jaguars moved up and became too colossal bust. That 2013 year. Oh, by the way, don't worry. If you look at the Jaguars' history before that, it's not much better. Before 2011, that's Tyson Campbell never made a Pro Bowl. Eugene Monroe ended up being a bust of a tackle in 2009. Derek Harvey, holy crap, was he a massive bust. Reggie Nelson was good elsewhere. Mercedes Lewis had a long career, but didn't really match his first-round pedigree. Matt Jones was terrible. Reggie Williams was terrible. Byron Leftwich had potential, but never really fulfilled it. 2001, 2002 were really good. They had John Henderson, Marcus Stroud. Those were excellent picks. R.J. Soward in 2000. Oh my God, the less said about that, the better. And then beyond that, he had some really good picks before that, but it gets worse. 2013, the number 2 overall pick. The Jaguars were the second worst team in the league. I think they tied for the worst record. They took tackle Luke Jackal, second overall. He was terrible. I mean, I don't know if he's a worse pick than Deion Jordan, the one that Miami took right after him. But 2 picks later, the Philadelphia Eagles took a very good lineman in Lane Johnson. I would like him. This is also another pretty rough draft, actually. A pretty brutal draft. There was a lot of bust in this draft. Pretty high bust rate until you get towards the later first round. So, other than Lane Johnson, it was a pretty bad year. This is the year that the Browns took Marcus Mingo at number 6. 2014, Jags had number 3 pick, which they moved up for. So who are they going to take? Well, it's a quarterback, because Blaine Gabbert is not even close to working out. They took with the number 3 overall pick, Blake Bortles. That's right. The Bortles, the boat. Did he say what I think he said? Let's do Blake. Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles once said he's not a natural thrower of the football. An NFL QB said that. NFL. National Football League. 32 teams. 32 starting quarterback positions. 32 backups. And I guarantee you there's only one in history that said they don't like throwing the football. Or they're not a natural thrower of the football. Blake Bortles said that. 2 picks later, the Oakland Raiders, which they would screw up this part late, they would screw this up later, took Khalil Mack. Jaguars have a history of struggling drafting defensive ends. That would have been a good one. And a lot of people thought he could go number 1 or number 2. But Jadeveon Clowney went number 1 that year, and although that was a solid pick, he never lived up to his immense potential, but he's been good. This was a really good year. Khalil Mack, Jake Matthews, Mike Evans, Anthony Barr, Eric Ebron's not been great. Taylor Lewan has been a great tackle. He was with Tennessee, then went to Cleveland. Odell Beckham, Aaron Donald draft. Kyle Fuller has been good. Ryan Shazier was good until he had his unfortunate injury. Zach Martin, C.J. Mosley was good until he left Baltimore. I mean, Brandon Cooks has been a very good wide receiver, but a bit underrated because of all his trades and stuff. It's a pretty good draft, at least through most of that in terms of first round. The Jaguars took Blake Bortles, another bust. This is 6 in a row. Actually, you know what? I count Mercedes Lewis as a bust, and I count Reggie Nelson as a bust because Reggie Nelson was good elsewhere. So he was a bust for Jaguars. Mercedes Lewis is tough because he played a long time, like 10 seasons in Jacksonville, but never lived up to the first round pedigree that he was drafted in. Although it was 28th overall, admittedly, but it should have been better, quite frankly. So if you don't count Mercedes Lewis, we're already up to 8 straight bust. 8 straight bust for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round. You wonder why they're bad? I don't. 2015, they took Dante Fowler out of Florida. At this point, Jaguars didn't have a Florida fetish quite yet. Although this is their third now in a 10 years in an 8-year period because they took Reggie Nelson and Derek Harvey back to back. But at this point, I'm like, okay, Dante Fowler, okay. But Dante Fowler had a very similar start to his career as Derek Harvey. That's bad. Although he's a very good situational pass rusher, he has never lived up to the number 3 overall pick. And Atlanta's finding that out right now. 2016. So that's 9 straight drug busts. But 2016 is not a bust. Might even be a Hall of Fame player. At number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars finally get it right and select Jalen Ramsey out of Florida State. He is in for a long and fruitful Jacksonville Jaguar career. I can't wait till the day he goes in as a Jaguar to the Hall. Oh, we get a good one. We trade it and we fuck it up and we have to trade him within 3 years. Within 3 years, we get one of the best corners in the game. Even if you think he's overrated, he's a damn good corner. And we fuck it up. The Jacksonville Jaguars fuck it up. Blake Bortles spent more time on the Jacksonville Jaguars than Jalen Ramsey did. That is the problem with this team. Dante Fowler spent more time for years than on the Jacksonville Jaguars than Jalen Ramsey did. Taven Bryan, who was picked in 2018, who's been a massive bust, has spent more time with the Jacksonville Jaguars than Jalen, the only good draft pick in almost a decade and a half. Actually, since 2002, one of like 2, if you count Mercedes Lewis. And depending on how you feel about Josh Allen right now, which he was good the first year and has been not very since. Since 2003, the year after we took John Henderson, the Jaguars have missed on almost every single first-round draft pick. Mercedes Lewis had a long career, but not one worth the first-round pick. Jalen Ramsey no longer plays for the Jaguars. Reggie Nelson had a better career outside of Jacksonville. Josh Allen's made a Pro Bowl, but it was his first year and hasn't been the same since all those guys left. So you tell me. And Josh Allen does look good at times. But K'Lavon Chaisson has not looked very good at times. C.J. Henderson's already no longer with the team. And we traded him for Dan Arnold as a third-round pick. Guess that's good. Is it, though? I've heard some people like, that's a pretty good haul for a bust. The dude, C.J. Henderson's a second-year corner. It's his second year. I understand he's looked terrible at times. But come on. He's a number 9 overall pick. You got to give him time. Nope. And then there's this year. We get the number 1 overall pick. Which, by the way, that's all because we started that long losing streak. We get the God. The God-sent savior. The savior of the franchise, Trevor Lawrence. But we pair him with Urban Meyer. He doesn't answer multiple calls from the Jaguars who are trying to pick him. Now, granted, he probably assumed they were going to, why I answer. Took Urban Meyer calling, but I can't blame him. But hey, they haven't... The Jacksonville Jaguars have a second first-round pick, though, from the Jalen Ramsey trade. Look, they really got hit on this because they really fucked up in trading him. But you know what? They have that pick. They can't possibly screw it up, right? Like it is impossible that the Jacksonville Jaguars screw this up. We found a good running back and undrafted free agent. So much so that we got rid of what we feel like's a bust. Leonard Fournette. I think he was better than people give him credit for, but he also was worse than people give him. He's weird. He's been a weird back. We got rid of our number 4 overall pick, Leonard Fournette, just from 2017, by the way, which was only 4 years ago. So there is no way in hell we are going to screw this pick up. What's that? Who's the Jaguars taking? Oh, no, you're joking me. They would not do... No. Oh, they're taking Travis Etienne. Well, I mean, you know what? He's more of a home run hitter than James Robinson. He might be able to make more big plays. James Robinson's never been a big play guy, but he's just a pound back. You know, he's almost in the wrong era running back, but, you know, he's been a good running back. So, yeah, I don't know if I agree with this pick, but, hey, maybe. Oh, he's injured in, like, his 4th ever snap. Ends out for the year with a foot injury. Now, you can't put that on him, but this is like the Jaguars' luck. Greg Newsome, the pick right after by the Cleveland Browns, would have been a better pick because we already lost the corner. And Jalen Ramsey, and Greg Newsome's been very good. I don't know if he's Jalen Ramsey good. I don't know how many people are. But if the plan was getting rid of C.J. Henderson, that would have been the right pick. So Rashad Bateman, we need talent, right? So why not go with him? There's not much after that I particularly care for at the moment. Just a few picks later, a minute later, Jaguars did take a corner. Tyson Campbell, he's looked okay at times, although he was inactive today with an injury. And then after that, it's going to be tough to decide what's going to be good for another few years. And from my understanding, the Jacksonville Jaguars were thrown for a loop when the New York Giants took another Florida Gator, because the Jaguars certainly love them guys. Kadarius Toney in number 20. The Jags were shocked by that. They were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Giants did that." So they didn't know what to do. They apparently didn't have like a backup plan or something. So they went with Jared Vetman, which maybe he's going to be a great back in this league. And you do need a shifty guy like that in the backfield. I don't disagree with this notion, but the Jacksonville Jaguars took a luxury pick at this point when they had about, there are 22 positions, 11 on offense and 11 on defense. At this point, you have the quarterback hopefully solved and running back solved with James Robinson for now. Also, you already signed Carlos Hyde as his backup. You could literally use anybody at any other position on this team effectively. Although I thought the receiving core would be a little bit better than they are. You could do anything other than a running back. You took a luxury guy when your team is not built for luxury right now. I'm not saying you need a draft need, but you know what? There's 20 positions of need. You could have took any of them. And it wouldn't be considered drafting need because you need everything. You took the one position you didn't need. And the one position that has historically in the last decade and a half has shown that you do not take in the first round, which is a freaking running back. And you've already proven that with taking Leonard Fournette, who's been basically a bust for a number 4 pick. And you found a starting running back, maybe not a home run hitter, but a good one, in James Robinson in undrafted free agency. He was undrafted. He wasn't like a 7th round pick or a 6th. He was undrafted. You've turned up a diamond in the rough. Sure, maybe it's not 24 carat diamond, but it's like 10 carat. He's a really good freaking back. He showed that today. 18 carries, 149 yards at TD. Why? This first round picks is the reason the Jacksonville Jaguars continue to suck and be an embarrassment to the NFL, be an embarrassment to the Jacksonville area. I'm not even from Jacksonville. I feel bad for if they care at all, which maybe they fucking don't at this point. You know what? I don't blame them. I'm under the impression that if your team is terrible for a long time, you shouldn't support them. Don't give them money. No. Tell them to prove it that you're caring about winning with your wallet, because that's all they care about. That's all these billionaire owners care about is money. Shaq Khan doesn't care if he continues to make money. Stop going to the game. Stop buying the jersey. Stop paying the exorbitant parking fees and ticket prices to watch the worst team in the league, and it's not even close. Well, what about the New York Jets? They have a win this year, don't they? What about Detroit Lions? They've been competitive for the most part. They just lost. They nearly won today. They lost a 2-point game. They've been close in most of their games. Don't give me this. Don't give me this bullshit. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are an embarrassment. They're one of the worst organizations in sports. And the worst part is I'm a Buffalo Sabre fan who might be the only organization in all 4 sports that can rival their craptitude. I know there's some baseball teams you can make the case for, but baseball's such a weird thing that I tend to have it as its own little entity. Yes, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Baltimore Orioles are a joke of organizations, but it's weird. Baseball's weird, so I don't really... It is what it is. I'll end with this. I'm not. My plan this year was I had thought about making reaction videos to every game, whether I watched or not, win or lose. But I'm not going to do that. I did tonight because it was 20 in a row. 20 losses. We won week 1 last year. I was like, maybe this team is going to be better than everyone thought they were going to be. Then they proceed to lose 20 in a row. I'm proving everyone right. Shad Khan wants all this extra crap built in Jacksonville. You know what? Tell them fuck off. We're going to move the team. Do you want this? Is this what the Jacksonville area wants? Is this? Well, think about the economy. It doesn't do as much as the economy as people think it does. I know for some business it's true. But you want, what? Was he going to want a new stadium? Well, look how much we've sucked the last decades of my ownership. We should get a new stadium. We want this Project 9 crap or Project J or whatever it is. And we want it built by them that's going to only give me money. Well, why should we do this? Because I own the NFL team. Well, your NFL team absolutely sucks. Your ownership absolutely sucks. The Jacksonville Jaguars were a bad team before you started owning it, and you went, let's make it worse. The Jacksonville Jaguars weren't very good for 10 years prior to that, but they had a couple playoff appearances. They were okay, but they were never good, and they were never Super Bowl caliber. They weren't like the 90s. Shad Khan took it and took it down the shitter. Let's talk one more thing. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars history, shall we? Let's talk about let's see. What year did Shad Khan, not only did he take over, but he ended up turning the team into a black and white friggin' basic ass team. Then they gave out with the worst uniforms in sports. Like, what was that helmet at the time? They got better this go around, but still kind of bland. It definitely is corporatized. Shad Khan owned the team prior. He bought it prior to 2012. I think sometime in 2011. I think it was, but it was during the season. Since 2012, let's talk about the Shad Khan era, shall we? Now he inherited a pretty bad team, so I'm gonna give him some benefit of the doubt on the first couple seasons, but that's about it. 2012, the Jaguars had their worst season ever in his first year of ownership. Now they had 5-11 the first year. And they fired Del Rio and whatever. And they weren't coming off good seasons prior to that, but they were 8-8 and 7-9 the 2 years prior to 2011. It's not good, but it's something. They went 2-14. That's when they had the second overall pick. They weren't even the worst team in the league that year, surprisingly. That was the 1 year of Mike Mularkey. And then we had 3.5, almost 4 years of Gus Bradley. So you can't say they're impatient. It's not like the Cleveland Browns. I'll give them that. From that time, from this very similar time period. 2013, 4-12. 2014, 3-13. That's 9 wins in 3 seasons. 9 in 3 seasons. You need 9 wins in a season just to get close to the playoffs. The Jaguars can barely do that in 3 seasons. Now, got better, I guess, because they went from 4-12 to 3-13 to 5-11. That's a 2-game improvement. It still suck ass, but that's a 2-game improvement. 2016, they went 3-13. Now, I remember this year fairly fondly because I think most people thought they would turn some sort of corner this year, and they didn't. And they went 2-12 under Gus Bradley before they finally fired him. Doug Marrone came in and went 1-1. Team played a lot better. They gave him the head coaching job, and it looked intelligent, downright smart, because they went 10-6. They lost like the last couple games in kind of ugly fashion. Hi. Say hi to Jet Jet. They lost in kind of ugly fashion a couple of times, but, they won the AFC South. They made the playoffs. They won a very ugly AFC wildcard game, but they won it 10-3. Their first playoff win since 1999, the 62-7 demolition of the Dolphins. Finally, the Jacksonville Jaguars are turning it around. But they got to go Pittsburgh. And, they beat Pittsburgh once in the regular season, but, man, only one team has done it ever twice in one season beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Of course, that was the 2007 Jaguars. 10 years prior, the Jaguars go into Pittsburgh and defeat them again. Dominate the game, even though it was a 3-point game, 45-42. Leonard Fournette went off. Blake Bortles went off in that game. And then I talked about the AFC Championship game where they had a 20-10 lead in the fourth quarter and blew it. And everything else, which was good. I mean, you know what? It was a heartbreaking loss. I remember how heartbroken I was. I was so disappointed. Part of it was because it was two of the Patriots of all teams. A team that's beaten the Jaguars like 4 different times in the playoffs. But hey, you know what? Finally, after years of misery, the Jaguars are looking at... Wait, what's going on in the offseason? Oh, the offseason is terrible? Well, you know, the Jaguars got off to a good start, though. They went going to go 3-1, including beating the crap out of New England, which is their first ever victory against the New England Patriots in the regular season. They did beat them in the playoffs once, actually, in the Pete Carroll era in 1997 or 1998. 3-1, hell yeah! Jaguars looking like one of the best teams in the league. Blake Bortles seems to really has turned the corner. Maybe Blake Bortles is an NFL. Oh my God, what happened? Jaguars, I think, lost. Let's talk about that 2018. The wheels. To say the wheels fell off would be an understatement. The wheels blew up. The wheels blew up. The car drove off a cliff. There was a rocket that hit the bus on the way down. I don't know what the hell happened to this team. They were 3-1 and then just wee. I guess the writing was on the wall a bit in the first couple games. To be fair, I need to make clear that the New England game was to go 2-0. I kind of my memory had always been that third win, but it wasn't. They beat New England 31-20, and it was not really that close. It was after beating the Giants in a weird game that they won 20-15, but it was really weird. They lost to Tennessee 6-9. Hopefully, that's not a sign of things to come. You know what? Tennessee in the AFC South, Tennessee always kind of smacks around the Jaguars. So losing to them, that's not that big of a deal, right? Hey, we clobbered the New York Jets the next week, 31-12. In a very remember that game well. There's some issues with sportsmanship in that game, but hey, you know what? The Jaguars are 3-1. We're going to Kansas City next week. This new kid on the block, Patrick Mahomes, he looks pretty good. Hey, so we might lose that game, but that's okay. As long as we don't embarrass... Oh, my God, we're embarrassing ourselves. Actually, Jacksonville really played well in that game. For a long time, that was the only game where Patrick Mahomes didn't have a touchdown pass. Fortunately, the Jaguars still lost 30-14. But you know what? Hey, you lose in Kansas City. There's no shame in that. There is no shame in losing to Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. But we're going to go to Dallas next week, and oh, my God, it gets worse. The Jaguars would ultimately lose 7 in a row. And the first 3 weren't close. They would lose to Dallas 40-7. Jesus Christ. And then would lose to Houston 20-7. They would start getting closer, losing to Philly by 6, losing to the Colts after the bye by 3, losing to Pittsburgh by 4 after their bye, and losing to the Bills by 3 after their bye. That was the game where everyone got into fights at the end, like Leonard Fournette and stuff. We did beat Indianapolis. Shut them out even. 6-0. I'm not making this up. I'm literally looking at the score right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars, after scoring 31 against the New York Jets, would not score over 30 the rest of the season. As a matter of fact, would only score over 20 twice. Both losses, ironically. They won the game 6-0. In 2018. We're well into the passing era and teams scoring 30 all the damn time. The Jags would score single digits this season 6 times. They scored 10 points total against Houston. They scored 15 total against Tennessee. They did score 26 against Indianapolis. I guess they got that going for them. Although they won, that was a loss. The game they won was 6-0. And it doesn't get better. We had no idea how far the Jaguars would drop. After 5-11, the Jaguars would bump up slightly in 2019, but still struggled and went 6-10, and just I mean, they were 4-4 at one point, but then they lost 5 straight. You know, they ended the season strong with a 38-20 shellacking of Indianapolis. That's good. But I don't know. It's the Jags, man. And then 2020. Then we all know what happened in 2020. The Minshew Magic. Minshew era. Minshew Magic got us 1 win, which is more than we've had since that 1 win. We've now lost 20 in a row. The Jacksonville Jaguars now have a .428 win percentage all time. .425 in the regular season. The Jaguars are terrible. They're legitimately, in my opinion, maybe, and I'm a Jaguar fan. I hate saying this. They're the worst organization in the NFL, top to bottom, the worst. Everything they do turns into an utter embarrassment. Oh, and those don't even include this year's losses, so it's even worse. The Houston Texans have been better, and they haven't been in the league as long. Granted, Houston's been now 20 years, so they kind of need to get their act together too, but look, it's not like the Jaguars have played in this tough division ever. Yeah, they had Peyton Manning for years, and that matters, but they were competitive against Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning hasn't been a fucking Colt since 2010. Although technically 2011, but he didn't play. So what the fuck happened? You've had an easy-ass division for years, and you can't even be competitive in it. In the Shad Khan era since 2012, the team has finished above third once. That was the year they won the division. They finished fourth each of the last 3 years, obviously. 4 of the last 5. 5 overall since he took over. And they finished third the 3 other years. They haven't finished... And 2007, prior to 2017, was the last time they finished above third in the division. Or 2010 was the last time they finished above third in the division. They finished second, 8-8. The division sucks. The division's not very good. It's never been good since the Peyton Manning left. The Colts had Andrew Luck and were good for a while, but they still weren't like great. Tennessee has had moments, but they've never been a contender. Houston, same thing. This division has been ripe for a team to take it over. And not only are the Jaguars not even close, they're not even close to beating their own teams in the division. They've lost to Houston 7 straight fucking times since 2017. Since they beat them twice in 2017. They've lost to Tennessee, I think 3 or 4. They've lost to Tennessee multiple fucking times in a row now. I don't even remember. I think they beat them in 2018. Yeah, they beat them in 2019. I'm sorry. They've lost 4 straight. They beat them in 2019 in a weird 20-7 victory. I don't understand it either. But they have lost. They actually got swept in 2017, ironically enough. They've only won 2 of their last 12 against Tennessee. 2 of their last fucking 12. So they're 2-10 against Tennessee in the last 12. Houston's worse. Oh, I know. How could it be worse than 2-10? Well, yes, the Jaguars have 2 wins also, but that's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've lost 7 in a row. They beat them twice in 2017. That's good. But they lost 6 straight prior to that. So they're 2-13 in their last 15 against Houston. Why do these matter? Because these are divisional games. These are your most important games on the schedule year in and year out, and you can't even beat them. You can't even be competitive. Year in, year out, game after game, these teams circle it and go, well, that's a W. And why not? Combined, Houston and Tennessee has beaten Jacksonville 13 consecutive times. Why wouldn't they think? The only team that struggled with them in the division lately has been Indianapolis for some stupid fucking reason. Hell, somehow, by the grace of God, the Jaguars have won 7 of the last 11. They have a winning record against Indianapolis during that time. That's... They've won 8 out of 11. I'm sorry, 8 out of 12. They're 8-4 against Indy in the last 12 games. That's incredible to me. I didn't even realize that. Does it matter? No, because it can't be anyone else. To give you a bad idea how bad the Jaguars are in their own division, Indianapolis, despite losing 8 out of 12, still leads the all-time series 25-15 against the Jaguars. Ooh, that sucks. Against Houston, well, Houston was a brand new team. Surely the Jaguars aren't that bad. They're 26 and they're 13 and 26 against Houston all time. 13 and 26. That is terrible. That is awful. Against Tennessee, there's a few more games because they were in the old AFC Central Division. That is Tennessee leads 33-21. So I mean, the Jaguars aren't close. They're not close. Houston's kicked the Jaguars' ass multiple times. I guess it was 4 in a row. My bad. It was 8 out of 9 for Tennessee. It's not 13 in a row, but it might as well be. I was gonna end this video like a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. I wanted this to be a 15-20 minute video. I'm hitting the hour mark. 20 in a row does that to you. There's no other franchise right now outside of Tampa Bay in the 70s, the Cardinals in the 40s, if you count that are going through this, that have ever gone through that. Yes, I know what the Lions went through in the late 2000s. I know what the Browns went through in the 2016-17 era. 1-31 is terrible. Absolutely is. You can't get much worse, although the Jaguars are going to try this year. Maybe it turns around. Maybe I'm not seeing the silver linings enough. Maybe I'm not seeing the light at the tunnel. Maybe there's this light, although I think it's a train that's about just ready to put me out of my football misery. Jaguars have 450 yards today. It's good. One turnover that mattered. It's a big one in the first minute of the game. But hey, you know what? The Jaguars stayed in it. They've been staying in these games lately. Oh yeah, some of them have been in double digits. But hey, you know, the Jaguars have played Arizona closer than anybody up until this week. Arizona's looking like they blew out the Los Angeles Rams, who everyone anointed Super Bowl champions. And then Arizona went, oh yeah, boom, punch you right in the mouth. And that game turned, and Jaguars had a 9-point lead in that game. That game turned because Trevor Lawrence threw a pick 6. Oh my God, we allowed so many defensive touchdowns this year. We blew a 9-point lead in about 3 minutes. Oh, maybe it was like 5 or 7, but even still. Hell, we have 14-0 lead on Cincinnati at halftime. But what happened afterward, we couldn't stop anybody. The offense played pretty well in that game, too. And when I say we couldn't stop anybody, I mean literally in the second half, the Cincinnati Bengals scored on every drive. There's only 4 that they had. They had scored touchdown, game-winning field goal at the buzzer. That's literally not stopping anybody. You might as well not even be on the fucking field with that shit. You can't get one stop. Cleveland Browns everywhere saying, I know, right? When does it end? When it could end next week. Miami Dolphins look awful, and then we're going to London. Maybe it ends next week. Maybe I come back here and go, it's over. It's finally over. The 20-game losing streak is over because the Miami Dolphins absolutely suck. That would be nice. I don't know if I believe it. My luck, they trade for Deshaun Watson. He gets cleared everything in the first game back. He throws 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. And Miami wins 65-0. Why 65? Because they get safety in there. I don't know. I don't want to root for a team that's this bad all the time. Like, I don't support the Jacksonville Jaguars. What I mean by that, and I mentioned this earlier in this video, I don't give them money. And granted, I live in Northern Ohio, so going to games is easy. Not going to games is easy. But I don't buy jerseys. I don't buy apparel. I don't buy anything. Why should I? Why should any fan going through this bullshit feed into an ownership that does not give a rat's ass if they win or lose? Oh, they can say they do. Absolutely, and they do, because what else? They're not going to say, no, all we care about is making money. No, they're not going to say that. But if they cared, they wouldn't allow Urban Meyer to be head coach. If they cared, they wouldn't allow Tim Tebow to get signed as a fucking tight end in the offseason. If they cared, we wouldn't be the worst team in the league year in and year out. We wouldn't be a continued embarrassment every single season. We wouldn't have an embarrassing story year in and year out. Remember, it was only, 2-3 years ago where the NFLPA sent, emailed every player saying don't sign with Jacksonville because Tom Coughlin's an asshole? They've never sent that email before. Or was it? It's been a long time. One or the other. I don't remember exactly which one. But think about that. The NFLPA said, avoid Jacksonville. You're an embarrassment. And by the way, I think he finally got fired right after that. Finally. And he should have been fired after 2018 with how poorly that whole situation was managed. We lost so much out of that 2017 defense. Now, that 2017 defense was never going to be replicated because that was just insane. But it could have been a great defense for years to come, supplemented with an offense. But no, we don't sign Allen Robinson, we sign Marquise Lee. That was stupid. We don't sign Jalen Ramsey and Yannick Ngakoue and all these other guys that deserve contract extension, but we sign Blake Bortles to an extension. Just let him play on that 5th-year contract. You're done. Both guaranteed for injury. So what? What we did was better? No, it wasn't. And then we compounded that by signing Nick fucking Foles. It's like this team can't get out of their own way. And you know what's amazing? What's absolutely amazing? What's beyond... what's incomprehensible is that's not... I haven't even got to the running back stuff yet. I've touched on it about the whole Carlos side, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are notorious for using resources after resources after resources for a position they don't need to. What do I mean? Second round pick on TJ Yeldon. They signed Toby Gerhart to a giant contract. They signed Carl Hyde twice to contracts. Travis Etienne, first-round pick. Leonard Fournette, first-round pick. Number 4 overall, no less. Shall I keep going? But I'm sure there's more than... Chris Ivory. Signed him to a free agent contract. That worked out well. And that's just... I feel like I'm forgetting some because it's been so many disaster after disaster after disaster after disaster. I'm forgetting some. It's been so bad. The Toby Gerhart one was unbelievable. At some point, it's not that the players aren't good. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Every player that gets drafted in the first round is a first-round talent. They have the potential to be great. It's about how they're developed and what their attitude is and a few other things. But every player the Jacksonville Jaguars have busted on in the first round isn't a bad player. It's not the case at all. You're not good. You're not that good in college, and a lot of the players they picked are from the SEC. The greatest football conference of all time, mini NFL, as they say. So they're not bad players, right? And for the record, I believe that. I believe C.J. Henderson was a good corner at Florida. I believe Dante Fowler was a beast, and Derek Harvey was a beast. I saw what he did against Ohio State in 2006. I believe all these guys are good in the NFL. Kalavion Chason was good. I don't know about Taven Bryan because that was just a dumb pick from the get-go. But a lot of these guys... Leonard Fournette was good but had issues. Oh, I should look at the LSU thing because I just saw a couple of LSU guys. Like, are we starting to get into the LSU train now? This video's gone on too long. I'm sorry it's over an hour. There's no way you're going to watch this whole video. And I don't blame you. This is more of me ranting and getting things off my chest that utterly piss me off about this team. I don't have much more to give this team. I don't want to give more to this team, to be frank. Why should I? Why should I give a rat's ass about this team? Why should I? See, everyone's like, well, you gotta support your team during lean times. I've had 20 years of that. My entire adulthood has seen bad football, and sometimes historically bad, apparently. I had 3 seasons in 20 years since I've been 14 years old. I'm 34. I have 3 seasons where I'm like, yeah, they were good that year. They're pretty good that year. They were an embarrassment. That's their only 3 win. That's their one of 4 winning seasons. 3 made the playoffs. 1 they didn't. Went 9-7. That's their 4 winning seasons in 20 years. And since the mid 2000s, forget it. Since 2007, when we went to the playoffs and beat Pittsburgh in the first round, in the wild card round, it's been a disaster. Outside of 2017, where everything clicked, and then it's almost more embarrassing what happened. Like, it's hard to fathom the craptitude that the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, I keep saying every week, is it rock bottom yet? It has to be. And then something like Urban Meyer fondles a college girl that isn't his wife. I know I'm exaggerating that a little bit, but, you know, he doesn't travel back with his team, which is like a giant no-no. And then he's at a bar and gets found with a girl dancing on that isn't his wife. Someone told me, like, oh, what's the big deal about that? You're the head fucking coach, man. You talk about honor and respect and the culture and all this bullshit that you want to spew that you don't believe in, because if you did, Florida wouldn't have been a disaster when you were there, and Ohio State wouldn't have had their problems either. For the record, I'm a Buckeye fan. I hate Urban Meyer. I hate him in Ohio State. I didn't want to root for him. I almost hated Ohio State because of it. Like, what I always said, we sold our soul, and we haven't gotten it back yet. Was it worth it? Maybe to some people. It wasn't worth it to me. I still follow the Buckeyes, but I'm nowhere near the fan I used to be. Fuck Urban Meyer. He's a piece of shit. I said it. I said it on this video. I don't like Urban Meyer. I think he portrays himself as this godly, God-fearing, God-loving human being, great person. Everyone loves him, and he's a genuine trash of a human being. It's been proven. What examples do you want? What more do you want? The offseason wasn't enough for you? Go back to the Zach Smith Bowl crap. Go back to the fact that he had Aaron Hernandez on his team. Who knows what he covered up? And all the arrests, was it 40-some arrests during his tenure? That's culture. Then you bring it... All I'm saying, just look at. Don't believe what he says, believe what's there. Believe what you see. Urban Meyer's not a good person. The day he's gone from Jacksonville will be a great day for me. I'll be happy. And I'm not a guy that likes to say fire a coach right away in their first year, but I never wanted him in the first place. And it's been everything that I expected it to be since he got there. If we're not rock bottom yet, I don't want to know what rock bottom is. I hope this week against Miami we go and we shellac them. We win like 45-0. Just to get it out of the system. 20-0. 3 teams in NFL history have done it. One was messed up by World War II. One was the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who in 1979, just 2 years after this, went to the NFC title game, almost a Super Bowl for the record. The Jacksonville Jaguars of 2020-2021. The pandemic Jaguars. Oh, losing's a pandemic in Jacksonville. It certainly is. I have been Zunker. That's my rant. Until next time. Deuces.